fill out the Medicaid permission form that once they become eligible, it automatically does that. So we're trying to get every single Medicaid dollar that we can, but Ryan's right, it's all.
And we outsource some of that work to Compass Care. It's, Lisa Heim does a lot of work on it. I actually make the claims on it, but Lisa does all the staff pool entries and stuff. The next page, item 28. Again, I just wanted to highlight what our current budget calls to spend on special education curriculum. It's $1,383,646. Item 29, that will be our total special education expenses, 1.92 million, which is up from 2017-18 and up from 2 years ago as well. We do have options to decrease what Fund 10 supplements for special education. It's just a matter of how much of our flow-through aid we have. We do have carryover that we can take more. We get new funds every year, but we still have some that have been given to us in the past that are still out there. The items at the bottom of that page, we'll get into the debt service fund. So item 30, total revenues and other financing sources. Those will be Fund 38 and 39 revenues. So that is the non-referendum debt and the referendum debt. Because one is 38 and one is 39, so they're combined. Item 31, that $1.3 million. Those are the scheduled payments that we have to make between July of this year and June of next year on the referendum. So if you go back up to item 32, June 30th of next year, we're going to show a fund balance in there of $772,000. That is to make our September interest payment. We have to take it now because otherwise we won't have it when we actually have to pay it. We can't levy it until next October, so we have to levy it at this point. So that's why there will be a carryover, which we'll just spend out come September. The next page, so that's capital projects. This is where we actually house all the referendum revenue and expenses. So at the end of this fiscal year, we had $22.6 million of all the bonds and stuff. And we have currently this 11 million, item 33, that's directly from our payment schedule that was set up. So when we set up the payment schedule for the referendum, that is the total that we estimated would get paid out this year in actual money spent. So PMA will send that money wire that money to the vendors, or if those little smaller ones that we pay, we'll pay those out and then they'll give it back to us. So at the end of next year, on July 1st, we'll have roughly $11.6 million left to be paid out. Item 34, that's just food service stuff. And then the two items below there, we don't have Fund 80, Funds 91, 93, or 99.
But with the budget changes and updates in food service, they're hoping to be 5,000 even plus.
Mm-hmm. So the pages after that, this will actually be the notice that goes into the paper. This actually rolls stuff up even further and condenses it. This is the format you'll actually approve at the annual meeting. Tonight we're approving the more detailed one. But this will be the one that will get approved that night. The second page behind there, I wanted to point out at the bottom, it's item 35. It's all highlighted in yellow. So those are the three levies at this point. The general fund is at 4.4 million. The referendum debt is at 1.6 million. The non-referendum debt is at 93,897. So the total school levy for 18-19 preliminary is $6,138,043, which is down 3.11% from last year. Behind that is a spreadsheet that we use when we enter the budget into Skyward, and that we track when we send the paperwork into Dodge County on the tax allocations. So you'll see each municipality on there. There's 2017 equalized value, the 2018 equalized value. That's the number we got from Baird. column to the left of that is the increase from 17 to 18. The column to the right is the percentage of the total equalized value. So City of Mayville accounts for 52.17% of the $595 million. And then we equal it, we allocate that out as needs to be in Fund 10, Fund 38, and Fund 39. And the column on the far right is actually the total levy for each municipality. And I will be emailing the entire packet out to the 3 people that aren't here tonight, just so they have had eyes to it.
So, any questions?
Everybody okay in this?
What's the costs in years past for capital maintenance? Are those not showing?
Think
because
about the
we're using-
like the budget of 150,000, like that. That's rolled into bigger dollar amounts.
That's rolled into the.
Yeah, it's in there, but
It's in there,
it's,
okay.
We do have that sheet Travis had up here actually was the document that we have that shows the total budget allocation by each building. So there's a district-wide / athletics one, there's a park view one.
so they have last year's dollars compared to this year's dollars though?
Well,
No.
I don't think so. I think in the past, because it was included with just unplanned stuff, you know, if a boiler needs a repair, it was going in. This year we have it much more detailed.
We have a very good system now, I'll tell you that much. I'm really happy with it.
So-
And I just looked at the state of the state and could see the code, what's come out of it up to this point, what's still available. And then we have, these are the planned expenses that Brian's referring to. And then we have some saved dollars on the side to say, okay, just in the event of the unknown, we'll have a small amount of dollars set aside for that. Versus before they were all together. So what we get, and even how Ryan's coding them now probably is different than how they were coded a few years ago. So we have to go back and do our own study in order to do apples to apples because we changed the codes. In the meantime, this system, they would still be relatively in the same
Yeah,
place. in
well,
the
they are.
budget.
It's the same function code. I just put a project code at the stuff that's planned, so Travis can say, are we over budget on Parkview projects? I can say yes, whereas before it's like, well, I have to dump everything in there and say, have you overspent on the project, or is it going over budget because of the unforeseen emergency?
So we could get that though. So we could look at the past few years and just put together a report. Skyward could generate that. So, okay, well, you know what, we'll have that for the B and G committee, and then we'll bring that at the meeting too. So B and G committee will review it as we're going on a walk, look, here's what we spent the past couple of years, here's where we're at now, here's what's budgeted. So, because we've not spent everything that we budgeted for this school year, intentionally. So the goal is to do about 50% of the work now, another 25% throughout the school year, and 25% more in June if all is good. So, just wanted to point out, we used $80,000 out of fund balance last year. That was with buses being purchased, you know, that's pretty exceptional to be in that place, I think, that's great. And then this year at the 70,000, we do have opportunities. Well, if that's where we're at, we'll do everything we can to try to bring a balanced budget in the end.
Is there any way to replace some of that fund balance this year?
Well, right now we're in deficit, so you'd be asking me to
Never
cover
mind.
the deficit
Okay, that's what
plus
I wanted, yeah, I know.
put money in fund balance. So, I don't know about that, sir.
Okay.
Well,
We're
and like
sure
you said,
we sure want to take out as little as possible.
The open enrollment is so fluid, and it is prorated.
Well,
So
sure.
if something happens mid-year, I mean, it could be the other way too. It could be for the better or for the worse, but it's.
Yeah, I mean, once you get started with the school year, there's still a lot of movement. So that's one of the things that is just, it will always be a question mark. The vouchers, that kind of gets locked in though. So, but we'll see what we can do. I mean, the goal always would be to bring a balanced budget. It was only last week Thursday that Ryan and I were excited for this budget to share with you the 110.
It was like 115 surplus, and we knew it wasn't gonna end up there once we did the count, but I don't think we expected it to
Yeah.
drop to 72.
Well, that's because of the numbers that changed, sure.
So, but still, I think it's a good, solid budget that we're presenting at this point in time. And the one thing I will say though, special education, I see the numbers, that is a
That
large
is.
increase. I do know if we go back and look historically, we used to spend more like in that range. It was literally the year I started here 2 years ago that there were significant savings from the prior year. So it's missing, if you were to go back 1 year, you would see a dip for that year. So when we presented this budget to the Board of Education last year at that $1,800,000, we shared that's pretty normal. That's a standard dollar amount for us. So we had a dip in the 16-17, went right back in the 17-18, and now I can't tell you the trend where that is. Obviously, it's higher by
How many open enrollments do we have for special ed right now?
total. I think it's 10.
How many out?
About even.
It's about even.
It is.
You know, what used to be 10 and 5. 10
Yeah.
and 5, oh,
But I still mess up your
10,
budget.
yeah.
Because we just didn't think that was gonna happen, because I'm not gonna budget for an extra
Sure.
$13,000 per student just because, so they got us, didn't know that was coming. But then again, we also had a new open enrollment in that we didn't expect. And we had families move in that were open enrollment in, that became residents that we didn't expect. People filling out tuition waivers because they moved, that we didn't expect. I mean, this is the United States of America, Dodge County, very fluid, lots of movement. And the system, it's not gonna change. That's the one thing that everybody needs to know. The system is set up for choice. It is a user-friendly choice world, and it just is what it is. So what we have to do is look at trends and patterns and try to get in front of it with planning.
Thank you for your hard work.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Okay. I'll go back up, possible future action items. You said there was something coming up later on.
So tonight you have the preliminary budget approval. Okay, so then what'll happen is we'll be getting ready for the annual meeting, and then after that, there will be, so we're getting ready for the budget adoption process. So, and then after the annual meeting, they will approve a levy, and then you'll have to come back and approve a final budget and a final levy in the month of October. So literally, the annual meeting will occur, you'll have a board meeting right after that. And we'll do our best to say, hey, by the way, I know you're approving this, but here's what's coming. If there are changes. Sometimes they're pretty minimal, but the state of Wisconsin, everything is an estimate, everything is equated, and until all is said and done in the state, you don't know how things are distributed.
All right, any unfinished business? All right, new business. We got resolution 18, 19, and 70. Consideration to hiring of a special education paraprofessional at the middle school. Debbie Edelman. You gonna speak on that? Bob?
Yes, originally going into this year, we had 3 paraprofessionals slated for each of the 3 special ed programs at the middle school. One of the returning special ed paraprofessionals in our 3A intellectually disabled program works 3 days a week, and she worked 3 days a week last year as well. I don't know about before then. And last year, to fill the other 2 days that she wasn't here, if she wasn't available to come in to substitute for herself, we would look for substitutes off the substitute list, and at times not be able to get those. So we were understaffed for part of the time. I don't have any specific data on how many days that it happened. That did impact the program and the ability to meet the needs of those kids. So we posted, and we found someone interested in that part-time position Tuesday and Thursday, opposite the person who's been here for several years, who works Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So that person has been asked to work and has accepted the position to make it 4 individuals covering 3 positions. 2 of them part-time, 2 of them full-time.
Also covering the library?
We had, Karen Burley works 4 days a week, and that was a decision she made to work 28 or less hours per week as a result of her husband's workplace requiring her to take part in insurance if she worked over 28 hours. That would have cost her, I think it's over $3,000. Scott, is that somewhere around there? $3,600 would be her share if she did that.
Well, she'd have to take half a single plan.
Yeah, whatever, half a single plans, I think it's around 3,000. So it was decided many years ago that, and allowed that she would work 4 days a week and so many years we were without a librarian on the Friday, the 5th day of every week. So this person who's willing to work part-time in our special ed for 2 days is also willing to take that Friday that we have not had a librarian for many years, even when I was back at the middle school before moving to the high school.
Okay, I need a motion for approval.
So moved.
Joe, second by?
Second.
Okay, any questions?
I'd like to make a motion to amend this from 11:50 pay to 12:50.
Okay.
Okay. Then we can read, well, that's not even a thing here, is it?
So you have to,
Okay.
Either let it die or.
Okay, well, Joe made the motion to amend it to, what did it say, to
12:50.
to 12:50 from 11:50?
Correct.
Okay, is there any second on that?
I'll second.
Okay, David. Okay. Let's go on the motion, the amended motion. Joe?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Okay, that's 4-0, okay.
Okay, just wait.
Okay, now we'll vote on the amended motion, I mean, the new motion, with the new price. Okay, and Joe, you made that motion too, didn't you?
Correct.
Okay.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Okay, it carried 4-0.
well, I will say that we'll be bringing forward some new wage recommendations for the special education pairs
Okay.
coming up here. So Joe just got in front of us.
Okay. All right. After a while, Jack, you come up here, you can show me that I write this thing up right, okay? Otherwise, John will have a conniption. Okay. Another motion, thing we have, Resolution 1971, consideration with appropriate action to approve the hiring of a school nurse consultant at the district, Elizabeth Huffman.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, that's yours, Scott, or is that?
Please go ahead and speak to that.
As referenced in my letter, Elizabeth Hoffman, who was a nurse supervisor for Ignition and Fond du Lac Clinic, will be coming on board as our part-time school nurse consultant. She's replacing Marie Berry, who had done it for a couple of years. And she is an RN and had just finished her BSN from Marion University. She's been working and will come in building time, work evenings, weekends, as well as during the day to support our office staff.
And we legally are required to have a school nurse,
Yes.
someone provide the service.
Mhm.
You have to be an RN?
Yes.
Yes.
And
I
then the
tried
other-
LPN one time, didn't work.
And then the other piece, Ron, is that under a BSN, you have a community health class. That's a requirement of your BSN. So there are some nursing degrees out there that don't have that component. The DPI requires community health as the caveat to be in the school. So she's got that as well.
Okay, any other questions about this motion? Joe?
Aye.
Right.
Aye. Aye. Motion carried, 4-0. Okay. We got resolution 1972. Consideration of appropriate action to approve the hiring of a district-wide individual education plan coordinator, Deborah Ellingen. Did I say that right? Okay. Back to you, Mr. President.
Yes, it is. So as part of our plan moving forward for some restructuring within special ed for cost savings and efficiency of delivery, this year we are bringing on Deborah to manage our IEPs. And basically, that's layman terms for when people hold IEP meetings or reevaluations or assessments of students with disabilities or students that are considered for programming and disabilities. There's a series of paperwork that comes through our office. Deb will be in charge of reading those, as will Joan Schultz for a little bit. and then making sure they are legally correct for accuracy, and provide the service to the child that's prescribed from that team meeting. The other thing that she will add to us is that we, like North Fond du Lac last year, as I referenced, we are in a self-assessment year, and what that means is any documents and paperwork relating to special ed from basically July 1st of 18 to June 30th of 19 are could be pulled for a self-assessment, and a self-assessment is basically a series of questions and requests and the regulations that we have to apply our paperwork to for the state. And she just completed North Fondy's, so we're kind of killing two birds with one stone, is that she'll also help us on our self-assessment and know specifically what paperwork to look for in preparation of that poll.
What do we come up with $100 per hour rate? Where does that come from?
That is the going rate, Ron, based on the qualifications of the individual. They're probably only, we estimated, I think, Scott, the budget to be no more than $15,000, because there's about 150 IEPs at no more than an hour each. So, but the $100 rate, in looking in the valley, because that's kind of where we're compared to in terms of CISA 6 and other positions, a person like this could be hired at, was the rate that we settled on.
It is for this school year only, and we are consolidating these duties with the director duties, with another program support position we're looking at, and also one of our support staff members. We're looking at having a consolidated one person on staff for next year. So right now, with our director of pupil services also being a high school principal, and in the past having a consolidated role, this consultant type position has been not uncommon for the school district. So we have had support. Joan Schultz is the last name. She provided similar support over the last couple of years. So right now we're shifting to a new individual. She's planning on going into retirement mode. So this is a new entity with a new agreement. And last year we had a similar dollar amount budgeted and did not spend it. So, but the dollar amount per hour was definitely something that was discussed by Mr. Sable and Mr. Zarnat, definitely.
Yeah, I think I should have made a motion to accept this hiring, so that somebody want to make the motion.
I thought I would like to get that license. I thought.
Yeah, the whole moon.
Oh, someone was saying? Second. All right. Hearing all that,
I would like to say I've had a long conversation with Scott this morning contesting this, but my understanding is you have to have all kinds of some of the things I didn't understand was a lot of the qualifications that go into this. And
You can't just
although
have
we
somebody
couldn't
come off the
even,
street.
we couldn't even try for $90 an hour because it's just I mean, what do we get them for, 16 hours a month, 2 days? I mean, that's what I look at, is like if you break it all down, 9 months, divide that 15 grand.
A lot of it was, let's not lose the person, was the concern.
There's no bargaining in that, where you throw them out a number.
There was discussion with Mr.
Oh yeah,
Zarnat
I
of
came
this
in a lot
person.
lower than,
Yeah,
Oh, really?
yeah.
yeah.
I'm in the wrong curve.
And discussion of this person needs to be an independent contractor and on their own, and you know, there was a great deal of dialogue that went back
Okay.
and forth.
any more questions? Joe?
All right.
Aye. Aye. Motion passed 4-0. Okay. Resolution 18-19-73. Consideration with appropriate action to approve the 2018-19 preliminary budget. Need a motion? So moved. David? Second?
Second.
Okay, anybody want to talk about it anymore?
So what you're approving is starting with this page. And that, by the way, just one thing, that is the legally required format. So how Ryan's like, well, this rolls up this in there, and this comes into that. That's why he's trying to spell it out to you, because everything, that is the legally required adoption process.
So we still got time to talk about wages and things like that in the future, change those numbers?
Oh, yeah, totally. So where you're at is this is the budget and the variables change constantly.
Sure.
So, no problem. So what it needs to happen is something's gotta go in the newspaper.